Hello, everybody. Welcome to your weekend edition. Happy Good Friday out there. It is obviously Friday the 15th today. So cheers, everybody. It was a good day, even though the markets were closed. Of course, cryptocurrency markets were open. So I thought I would go with the good stuff today for those who are always asking what I'm drinking today. Bib and Tucker. This is actually a great 6-year bourbon. My buddy Kerry bought this one for me. So thank you. Cheers, Kerry, out there. It's going to be a little bit of a different show today. I've been talking a lot over the past 48 hours about what's been going on with Elon Musk and what's going on with Twitter. And I think it's going to present some incredibly good trading opportunities. It's also going to show us a lot about what's really going on behind the scenes of some of these companies. I think it's a clear example of greed, of overstepping boundaries. I think it's one showing corruption, and really, I guess, freedom of speech is at the corner of all this. So very interesting things going on, which is why I decided to do that as the topic for today's show, which is this: Twitter wars. Hopefully I had some fun with the graphic here, drawing out a little bit of Elon Musk praying. I don't think he's actually praying right now. I believe he's laughing. Of course, I got my glass of whiskey in my hand because it's Friday, and you might notice a couple little interesting icons on here. I have Twitter Wars in Star Wars font. I've got the T from Tesla, and lots of wee little tiny birdies there going on to the background from the Twitter logo. All right, so Let's start off with some of the big important facts. Now, I'm sure that many of you have heard or read and little pieces of this, but I wanted to kind of maybe bring together some of the major components of this so we all understand clearly what's going on. Obviously, Elon Musk made a purchase offer for 9% of the company, did that, 2 weeks ago. Then was supposed to be assigned to the board of directors, which he said, okay, great, and then went, oh, hold on a second, and he backed out of that. And of course, just the other day, he made an offer to buy the entire company 100% and take it private, and he did so at a cost of $54.20 per share. Okay, that's the big stuff. What's interesting is the communication that was sent back and forth, and I went through the SEC documents. I found it rather interesting to look at the SEC documents and find out what was really said, what the offer was, what are the different pieces going on that I want to get from the horse's mouth versus some media outlet giving me their spin. So I'm going to start with the first one. How many of you, and unfortunately I hate that there's a delay here, I wish it was live, but if I do, sorry, it is live, I wish there was no delay in our stream because I'd like to get these responses sooner. So let me know what you guys think. I know we got a smaller group because a lot of you are taking the day off, but let's have some interactive fun here today. Most of you probably know what upgrades and downgrades are, right? This is where an institution will say, hey, we think this company is going to this price, either up or down. Here's the reasons for it. So we're going to issue it from a hold to a strong buy, right? And we clearly know, if you don't, study up or ask me questions, we clearly know that this is a manipulation tool used by financial firms to help influence price in the direction that benefits the firm issuing the upgrade and downgrade. Simple as that. If you don't believe it, dig deeper. It's evident across the industry. So when Elon Musk made this offer, I think that Tesla was right around $45. So here's the chart of Tesla. So we can see the initial announcement where Elon Musk said, hey, I made the purchase, but he already made that way back here. He was accumulating back here somewhere. Now all of a sudden he makes the announcement. Twitter sells off, as you can see on the chart, going all the way back to April 12th. And over the past couple of days, it had the huge jump up when he made the announcement and then sold off. So Gallo says pump it up. Could be. Cool, it could be. Yes, Chris, and that's what I'm going to get to right now. Let me ask you, if you guys owned any stock, let's say you have, and this is the current price, you just bought Tesla or Twitter shares at $45.08, and somebody comes along and says, I will pay you $54.20. That's a $9.18 increase per share from your current purchase price right now. So I try to do percentages in my head sometimes, and they always come off a little bit weird, so let me just do it here. If you take $9.18 and divide that by $45.08, that means you would be getting, how about if I put it in there? $9.18, divide that by 45.08. You'd be getting a rate of return of 20.3% on your money just because Elon Musk is making an offer. How many of you, by a yes or a no, would be happy to take that offer? You're going to make 20% for literally doing nothing but holding your shares because someone wants to buy it. Yes or no, would you unload on this one? If you're a shareholder, how would you vote? Yes, take his offer. Get me out of my trade? Because let's be honest. I know it sounds condescending. Most of you here aren't buying companies because you're like, dude, it's the greatest company. You're buying because you feel like you are going to make money. Exactly, Thomasina. I'm not attached to it. I bought, I'm buying securities because I expect them to go up. I'm shorting securities because I expect them to go down. Take the money and run. And this is, I love it. Not one person here said no. And if you did say no, that's okay. It's okay. But it's interesting, if we are a representation of the shareholders of Tesla, not one person here said that they would hold their shares and vote no. This is the war that's coming. So I'm going to start off, as Chris said here, with this Goldman Sachs piece, which is awesome. This is awesome. So Goldman Sachs is on record just yesterday as saying Elon Musk's offer of $54.20 is far too low. It does not represent the value of this company. They should absolutely refuse it. Really? Well, look what Goldman Sachs said in February of this year. This is press release from Goldman Sachs. Twitter Incorporation, review, blah, 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 blah. Twitter, 12-month price target, $30. Its current price at the time of this release was $37.80. So basically, Goldman says this thing's going down. It's going to drop to the tune of about 20%. That tells you their opinion on this should be, it's negative, sell. So all of a sudden, you come out there with an offer of $54.20, and Goldman Sachs says, not a good enough offer. This should already clue you into how stupid and corrupt and filled with complete jackasses this entire financial industry is. Because if Goldman Sachs is holding any shares, they're probably going, sell it, take some profits. However, Goldman's probably on the sidelines here. I don't know Goldman's position, but you can see a clear conflict of interest here. You're telling the world to sell Twitter because you will probably want to buy it cheaper. But now you're saying $54.20 is not a good enough price for Twitter, yet you targeted $30? How am I supposed to trust anything that comes out of Goldman's mouth? Well-deserved donkey of the day. Knowing Goldman, I might get a lawsuit from this one because I called Gold. Here we go. I'll just make it clear. Goldman Sachs is the donkey of the day. We'll call Eric Sheridan, Alexandra Steger, and Alex Vigilante, who's a CFA, by the way, the donkeys of the day because clearly you are paid by your firm to make these statements, and I call bullshit conflict of interest somewhere in the back end here. All right, so let's go further. I want you to hear exactly what Musk said, not what Twitter posted, not what CNBC says, but his exact words that were written to the SEC, which I think are brilliant. Here they are. First, he says in his this is in the statement that he sent to the SEC. I invested in Twitter as I believe in its potential to be the platform for free speech around the globe, and I believe free speech is a social imperative for a functioning democracy. I think that we could all say, hear, hear, cheers to Elon Musk for that statement. Let me grab a sip of whiskey in his honor on that one, because I firmly believe that as well. Second piece. However, since making my investment, I now realize the company will neither thrive nor serve this social imperative in its current form. Twitter needs to be transformed as a private company. As a result, I'm offering to buy 100% of Twitter at $54.20 per share in cash, which is a 54% premium over the day before I began investing in Twitter, and a 38% premium over the day before my investment was publicly announced. My offer is my best and final offer, and if it is not accepted, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. And finally, Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. I love it. I wish that there was more like this. Now, the nice thing about this is in the SEC document, so after a certain time, we can actually view these things. So I love reading through these documents. I think it does show a lot of truth because sometimes the media will take this statement and twist a little bit, and all of a sudden we get a different perspective of the person who actually made the statement. So, as it stands right now, I got to just say I'm 100% behind Elon Musk here. I think it's great what he's doing. I think he's paying a ton of money for this thing. But if he feels that he can turn this into a better platform with a little more free speech, we've already seen tons of censorship out there on behalf of them, then great, so be it. But here's the rub. They're now talking about a poison pill. Now, I'm not going to go into how exactly poison pills work. There's multiple types. But basically, a poison pill is where the company, in this case Twitter and its board of directors, will do what they can to make it challenging and hard for that person to acquire the company. They're going to do whatever they can, and actually it could potentially end up hurting the company itself. Lots of different tactics there, but apparently Twitter has said, we're going to go through the poison pill thing, we're going to issue more shares, which dilutes the value, meaning that Elon Musk would have to buy more, yada, yada, yada. My question is, whose decision is that? If I'm a shareholder, then I have the voting right. Now, if I only have one share, I get one vote, but damn it, I have a vote. And we did it here. All of us would have sold for sure, right? So it's going to be a test here going forward, and I think next week's going to be a very, very interesting time. Number one, because we're going to hear from the board of directors and Tesla as to why they're not going to accept this offer. I personally think that they're going to say no. But they're kind of backed into a corner, because if they say no, then as the shareholders, I believe that there is actually the potential for a lawsuit, because this needs to be put to a vote to the shareholders. From my understanding of the situation, this has to go to the shareholders for a vote. If someone makes a tender offer, especially at such a high premium, it's got to go to the shareholders. Board of directors, you can say what you want, but you get to vote with the shares that Twitter owns, not the public shares that we own. So very interesting. Tom says $54.20 per share. So why would Elon Musk add $4.20? Because he's awesome. Because he's great. Yeah, he has a thing for $4.20. He does that quite a bit, actually. So I thought that was humorous as well. I actually was looking through the SEC documents to see if I found more $4.20s in there. But you know what? There's a common phrase in the industry, and I won't say it because I curse a little bit, but I'm not going to drop the F-bomb. But there's a thing called FU money, right? I think everybody knows what FU money is. FU money is that level you're just like, I don't care anymore. And he's got so much money, I don't think he cares. So I think he's having fun with it. So here's the war that's going to go on over the next couple weeks is Twitter as a company, if they try to do a poison pill and thwart the takeover, there could be lawsuits here on the part of the shareholders. I can already tell you, if they say no to this, you're going to see class action lawsuits from shareholders against Twitter board. Without question, it's going to happen. Because there's some people that are going, hey, dude, I want to sell. Now, if Twitter board of directors says we're going to refuse this, who knows what path that's going to go. It could be really, really crazy. So Twitter will tank the stock by diluting stock, and shareholders get screwed, not acting in a fiduciary capacity. Exactly. That's exactly right. And to me, because we have such transparency, and because this situation is taking the center stage around the world, I have people who don't know shit about the stock market going, dude, here Elon Musk is taking over Tesla or Twitter. It's like, okay, now explain to me what that means to you. Like, well, he's buying the company. It's like, yeah, there's so much more to it, man. It's going to be textbook stuff going forward here. So, who knows? This could actually be one of those cases that goes into a textbook as far as democracy, shareholders' rights, voting rights, and all that stuff. It can be very interesting. So, that's one part of this war, which I've been laughing at, actually, just kind of sitting back on, man, this is interesting. I'm sure Elon Musk is probably 420ing at home right now. Yes, 420 is a marijuana reference, and who knows the origin of it. I believe it actually started in Marin County, California, where I grew up, and 420, I believe, was the police code for possession of marijuana. If I'm not mistaken, we might have some reefer heads out in the audience that can correct me on that one, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Okay, so let's take it to the next step, which is ownership. Okay, actually, no, let me read this last piece here because it's brilliant. And honestly, I always thought Elon Musk was kind of a sociopath. I think he's brilliant. I got to throw my hat in the ring. Check out what he said. And this is direct text message to the chairman of the board at Twitter. He says, best and final. I am not playing the back and forth game. Or sorry, A, I'm not playing the back and forth game. B, I have moved straight to the end. I love it. No nonsense, no BS. Here's my highest offer. You're not going to get another penny out of me. Take it or leave it. Love it. C, it's a high price, and your shareholders will love it. Now, he put that in there strategically because if this doesn't go to the shareholders, you kind of got him right here. If the shareholders don't get to vote on this, then there's the lawsuit. Yes, Les, thank you. And D, if the deal does not work, given that I don't have confidence in management, nor do I believe I can drive the necessary change as a public market, I would need to reconsider my position as a shareholder. And it is not a threat. It's simply not a good investment without the changes that need to be made. And those changes won't happen without taking the company private. Man, this guy doesn't mince words. He just goes straight for it and says exactly what he feels. Bravo. When you got over 100 or $200 billion, you can do that kind of stuff. So here's the big question. They used to meet at that time to smoke. All right, you're right. There's multiple beliefs out there, Yowzer. But it still was NorCal, right? So here's the second piece. So first off, you got the war, you got the battle. That's going to be interesting. Number two, how do we trade this, right? How do we make money off of this? And if you look at the price chart, I think it's a little bit dangerous to be trading Twitter at this moment in time. The volatility is just real high, and I think next week you're going to see even more. But I'm digging in it from the perspective of how can I make money off of this? So I started thinking last night, this type of stuff keeps me up. I was thinking, as I came in second place at trivia because I couldn't identify the Jack in the Box hamburger. Yes, we came in second because I messed up on the Jack. We had a picture round of hamburgers, and you had to pick where the hamburger came from. I missed Jack in the Box, and for that reason we lost the things that I do for fun. So if you look at Elon Musk's offer, here's what it was. 42 or 43 billion. We're rounding errors, right, when you get that high. Cash offer. Cash. Now, anybody here got $40 billion in cash? I mean, hell, if you got $1 million in cash, you're doing pretty damn good. He doesn't have this kind of money in cash. I was told he's got about $3 billion in cash. Awesome. Good for you, brothers. I wish I get there someday. So you got to ask yourself, if you're going to buy something for $43 billion, where are you going to get that cash from? Where's it coming from? So there's a couple different ways he could go about doing this. Number one would be to go to get a loan. Now, Elon Musk, being the richest man in the world, probably will not have a problem getting a loan. However, $40 billion loan is going to be pretty difficult to secure. I would imagine. I don't know. I've never dealt with anything like that. Hell, just getting a 30-year fixed rate mortgage can be a pain in the butt, and that's only for a few $100,000. So that's option number one. I think maybe there'll be some lending going on. The second part is, where does he get his... I wish, Big Ev, I don't smoke anymore. I used to be a daily wake and bake kind of guy. All through college, smoke weed, and now I can't do it anymore. Just get paranoid. My only vice is, a little glass of whiskey every now and again. Got to keep that clean life, pay homage to my temple. So where's he going to get the money, guys? You tell me. Where do you think Elon's going to get this money from? He has his money in three really big buckets. Number one, he's got about $40 billion in SpaceX. Personally, I don't think he's going to touch any of that. I think SpaceX is his next Tesla times 10. If SpaceX succeeds, I think it's off the charts. So he's not going to take it out of SpaceX. Then the natural target is to go look at something. Well, he's got $101 million sitting in the Boring Company, which he's not going to touch that either. So all fingers now point to Tesla. Now, if Tesla, he could issue some debt, but he won't be able to issue debt on behalf of Tesla, right? The Tesla board of directors would not go for this huge loan to put their company in jeopardy to buy Twitter. I'm pretty sure the board of directors would say no to that. So I don't think he's going to be issuing debt. I think he's going to end up selling some of his Tesla. Now, he has $54 billion worth of options on Tesla, and he has $170 billion worth of shares. So my guess is you're going to see some selling going on in Tesla. So you got to figure out, there's two opportunities here. If he does need to raise $40 billion, I don't think he'll need to raise the full $40 billion. I think he's going to be doing something else. I think he's probably going to sell maybe $20 billion and get loans for the rest or come up with it somehow. But I don't think you'll see him unload $40 billion worth of Tesla shares. That said, let's take a peek at Tesla's chart here because this may be the opportunity this week. TSLA. So here's Tesla sitting right around $985. Nothing really amazing from a technical perspective on this chart. It really feels like just real big wide swings. It actually feels like now we're in another down leg after we kind of reach this downtrend line here. So not really anything exceptional with Tesla shares. However, you guys might notice in the bottom of my chart here, there's a little E right here. Little E. That is not an ecstasy pill. That is earnings. On Wednesday, they are reporting earnings. Now, you guys know what happens every time Tesla reports earnings, right? We can go back to every earnings announcement they've had. When they do an E, the volume spikes are huge. So it's actually a pretty good way for Elon. Well, that's actually not a huge volume spike. It seems a bit skewed in my opinion. Normally, you get massive spikes in volume on the day he reports earnings, or Tesla reports earnings. So what does that mean? I have this feeling, and here's how I'm going to play this, and we'll probably do this next week. I think what will happen is on Tesla's earnings, you're probably going to get the typical massive swings. I am planning on putting some orders to buy some puts, but I'm going to be doing those. it's tricky. Sorry, I'm not buying puts. Selling some puts way out of the money. Because what I think is going to happen is I think you're going to have Tesla gap up big. And I can either sell puts, which means I'm going to be looking to buy Tesla at a much lower price, or I could actually buy puts outright. And because the price would have shot up that morning on the earnings announcement, remember, they're going to do it Wednesday night, which means Thursday morning is your actual tradable time for options on Tesla. I think you're going to get a gap up. And if it gaps up, I'm planning on actually buying options, but at a much higher level once it rallies up, and expecting that Elon Musk will be unloading his shares that he needs to raise the capital for Twitter on that earnings announcement. Is it 420? Man, that would be just the culmination of hilarity. It is, actually. I did not even notice that. That's really great, Randall. $54.20 per share. They have earnings on April 20th, which is 420, and the day after, you could see some pretty big sell-off. So I think those are some very interesting plays that are going to be happening this week. Now, I don't know what on earth is going to finally happen with all this, but I can tell you what, I've got my bowl of popcorn sitting there, and I'm just watching this, enamored with the soap opera. I hate reality TV, that Kardashian bullshit, all that stupid Survivor. You want to do a real Survivor show? You put 10 people on an island with nothing, and you say, we'll be back in 3 months, see who's alive. That's Survivor, not this candy. We vote you off the island. I got a splinter. No, this is real soap opera stuff with Elon Musk and Twitter and the board of directors and the SEC. It's awesome. I cannot wait. Looking forward to it. Let's see. I wonder if the Diamond Hands Reddit people will get involved as the FU to the board. Yeah, who knows? Twitter's too expensive for them, right? These Reddit guys, they like cheap stocks at a heavy short interest. I don't think Twitter has that much of a short interest. Is there a weekly candle for this weekly? So you're asking about the overall markets. I'll go get to market analysis here in just a second. Let me make sure I got, let's see, I want to make sure I got everybody's comments in here. Hey, thank you, KF. Yeah, smash that like button. All right. It's a Friday. It's Good Friday. Let's see. No, 420 is my wedding day. Yeah, I know. You get all kinds of fun. No wonder you're a big fan of 420. Michael's always asking about cannabis stocks. All right. So anyway, that's my take on this whole thing. I love it. I think we need kind of soap opera drama like this, and I'm excited for what happens going forward. I'll let you guys know on Thursday's show if I was in fact successful buying those puts. But I mean, it's literally, I have to be there first thing in the morning as that market opens, because as you know, there's always wild swings on earnings, and quite often you can set levels that are way outside of the market and get filled on these just rampant spikes, but just something to be fun with. Yeah, Naked and Afraid wasn't bad. There's another one out there. It was called Alone. I liked Alone. Alone, I thought, was a pretty good show. You can really see the stress that goes on with people on that one. That was pretty good. All right, so the question from Yowza was talking about the weekly candle. All right, let's go to the weekly candle on Tesla. Reversal, gap down, inverse hammer. So, yeah, it's kind of a mix of different candlesticks and formations. Hey, Glenn, thank you very much. Cheers, my friend. I appreciate that. That was awesome. I love that. You made my Friday even better. You just bought an ox, and you have no tools. Like, you have to literally take sticks and start a fire. You have to take rocks and chip them and make knives so you can skin this food and survive. It is pretty intense. But yeah, anyway. We won't go now. We're not going to do a TV rating show now. So with regards to the chart formation you see here on Tesla, I agree with you, Yowza. I think that it's a pretty ugly formation. This pattern right here doesn't really have a name. Yes, it's an inverted hammer, but normally this type of pattern is at the top of an uptrend. What you have here is a pattern that realistically does show the higher probability for down move going forward, right? Because you have the long topping tail above it, tiny little bottoming tail, therefore much more selling pressure. Even though it was green for part of the week, it ended up getting crushed almost down to the lows. So this is actually, in my opinion, a fairly bearish candle for Tesla. Again, earnings are next Wednesday, so that will be the fun part. Sorry, no, Big Ab, I misspoke. I'm going to be buying puts outright. I won't be selling. I don't have an interest in owning Tesla long term, so I will be buying puts. But what I want to do is something like this. I'll have a level, right, somewhere like that, right? I don't know exactly. We'll see when the market's open. But what I'm expecting is I'm expecting this type of action. So let's just go to a 5-minute chart, all right, just for fun. I'll go 5 minutes, and I'll zoom out like that, all right? So here's Tesla's current 5-minute chart. Let me lock my drawing tools. Click that. I'm expecting price when this thing reports earnings. So let's say that this is hypothetically Wednesday's price chart. I'm expecting it to do this. Oops, it's got a double click. There you go. I'm expecting Tesla's to, usually, when you have earnings, it does this type of thing. And then I'm expecting it to really start to drop. So what I'm going to be doing, looking forward to doing, and hopefully I can catch it, and it's extremely high risk, is this level here. I'm going to try to coincide that, obviously, with some supply zone where I feel like there's a higher probability of prices turning. So I will be out there with an order ready, looking to buy some puts as it rallies up. So I'm going to have a much cheaper price. So basically, it'll be like a stop limit order because I want to. I want those puts to be as cheap as possible. And when price spikes like this, obviously those puts become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So I am looking forward to buying puts outright. And then if this, or it's not on Tesla, but just as an example, I think that the Tesla will sell off because I have a feeling that Elon Musk will be using this as an opportunity to get out of some of his shares. It's a perfect time to mask it because there's so much volume happening during that earnings announcement. We'll watch it closly. When we do the show on Thursday, I'll bring up that. Let's see, who's the guest on Thursday? We have Brandon Wendell on Thursday, so maybe Brandon and I can talk a little bit about that when the show starts. But you're going to see extremely high elevated volume in Tesla, regardless of good or bad earnings. I don't care either way. Right? I'm not trying to pick a direction on Tesla. I'm just making the assumption that the largest shareholder of Tesla in the world is going to be unloading some to help make this acquisition of Twitter should it go through. Why not sell vertical calls? Because I am a simpleton. That's it. I don't know, for some reason I just don't do the spreads and all those different strategies. I like to just go single direction. So that is definitely one of my Achilles. One of my faults is I'm not an options expert. Don't claim to be. Merlin, can you explain to me about the volume bar and price action correlation? NB, are you referring to the charts we have here? Generally, in a simplified format, I believe that volume is like the stereo, is like the knob on your home stereo. When you keep volume down low, nobody cares, doesn't bother anybody. But when you start to really dial that thing up and turn it up to 10, your neighbors start pounding on the walls. I mean, that's when things start to go crazy. So to me, that represents emotion. Think of the volume knob on your stereo as the emotion being put into that security. And if you hit 10, you know that people are freaking out, panicking, stumbling over each other to buy stuff. You got fear and greed just, boom, colliding and creating monster spikes of volume. That's what you typically get on an earnings announcement. Now, unfortunately, we haven't had any, I would say, significant NASDAQ stocks report earnings. And for me, it's really important that you look at New York Stock Exchange versus NASDAQ and how those earnings are reported. New York is usually before market opens, and it's extremely muted. Like there's almost no activity that goes on with a NYSE earnings announcement because it deals with a specialist system. Whereas, let's see, what reported earnings pre-market or in the NASDAQ here this week? We had Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Delta Airlines. We had, Bed Bath & Beyond. So I'll give you an example. Let's just go look at two companies. One is Delta Airlines, which was a before market open. So they reported on the 13th. Oh, stop. I got my drawing tools on. Didn't mean to put those drawing tools on. Those have no bearing on this. There you go. So you can see they reported the 13th, and it just jumps up, but the volume is just super low. Why? Because this was dictated by specialist. A specialist is a person who is designed to make he's a market maker, but it's really, on the NYSE, it used to be one person was the specialist. You had to go to a specific window. So this guy just jacks his price up because he knows they beat earnings, blah, 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 and that's that. If you go to BBBY, unless they move this to the NYSE, no, this is NASDAQ. So unfortunately, it's Bed Bath & Beyond, which is a fairly thinly traded stock, but you usually get much wilder swings on NASDAQ securities. I'll show you this week when we get to Twitter and some of the other companies reporting earnings. I bought a butterfly on Twitter at 50 for 15 cents. Reward is 85. So just for a fun trade, 10 contracts, that's not just for fun. I mean, 10 contracts is your 1,000 shares. That's pretty good. I mean, at least, Tom, I know you well enough to understand that you're taking some risk there. I mean, obviously, Twitter is absolutely in play. That's one of the craziest, most talked about securities we've had in a long time. So, you got some risk there, but as long as you protect yourself, it's good. Eric says, I think that nat gas continues higher. Yeah, you and me both. We talked about this on yesterday's show. When John Rowland was on last week, calling for much higher highs in natural gas. I don't think anybody here on this channel actually expected it to be that extreme. I expected it to keep going up, but the way that it's going, holy cow, natural gas. Joe, what if Twitter deal falls through behind the scenes? So it's not going to fall through. It's either going to happen or it's not. So falling through is kind of like, it's an amicable. It's like when you buy a house, right? Or you make an offer to buy a house and it kind of falls apart. There's no legal recourse there. Most of the time, there's no legal recourse there. You didn't pass an inspection or whatever the case may be. In this example, it's an all or nothing type of thing, in my opinion, because it's not like Elon Musk is going to go, you know what, that's fine. We're good. If the board refuses his offer without putting it to a shareholder vote, you're going to get lawsuits. So right now, the worst position you want to be in is on the board of directors of Twitter, because they cannot refuse this offer without putting it to a vote. If they do, there's lawsuits, and it's going to come. It's going to come hot and heavy. I almost want to buy a share of Twitter just so if they refuse, I'll just say I want to join a class action lawsuit just to be a part of it. So it's an illustration of democracy. It's an illustration of the system is designed that everybody who has a share gets to vote. And when someone's going to pay that much more of a premium, I am happy to sell my stuff. Here you go. Go, take it. Right? Take my shares of Tesla or of Twitter and run with it. Just give me my $9 more than I paid for. Bring it on. So, hey, Les, thank you very much. It's a good Friday out there. Cheers, my friend. Thank you. My risk was only 150, right? Because I don't think I could get in and out stadium or. Well, good. Hey, you know what? Sometimes it's fun to play with $150 and see what happens. What's your maximum upside on that one? Is there you got a ceiling on that? So you probably have a 3-to-1. I'm assuming something 3-to-1. Anyway, this was kind of just a topic that's been keeping me up. I didn't mean to bore anybody with this thing because I know it's all over the media, but I haven't heard people present it by showing you, at least in my opinion, all the real facts, all of the actual statements that were made. I hear all paraphrased stuff, and I think it's funny that there's corporations like Goldman Sachs who are saying, oh, the offer is no good. It's way, way, way too cheap. It's like, listen, donkey, you just told the world that it was overvalued. And it's going to go from $37. I mean, the fact that they said it's going to go from 37 down to 30. Oops, not that one. Chuck, there we go. I thought that was brilliant. And they were right. I mean, if you actually look at the announcement when this was made, they issued this on February 10th. So I'll give them some props because they were right in this call. So here's February 10th, right there where the vertical line is. So, hey, you know what? Goldman Sachs finally got something right. It actually went down to a low of $31.30 from the price that when they made the statement. So 10 days later, it fell from $37 all the way down to 31. Well, it's taken off like crazy ever since. Can the Department of Justice stop the buy? Yes, they can. But why would they? There's no reason. It's not like this creates a competitive monopoly. It's not like this is antitrust. He's saying, I want to take this company private. There should be no problem whatsoever with that. I don't see any DOJ issue with regards to him taking this one private. To me, it's more of the board of directors overstepping. And I love the fact that he calls him out and says, I just don't think that, I don't have confidence that the board is going to take it in the direction it needs to go. So I'm going to buy it, giving all the shareholders. Remember, that's the reason they issue shares to the public, is so that we can have a say in what goes on with that company, have voting rights. So I love it. Let's see. Pepe says, if Elon end up buying Twitter, it will be part of the next Tesla at a cheaper price. The apexes will jump on board. Well, I mean, who knows what those changes will be. Bottom line, it's going to be private. So we remove that from the shareholders. I can tell you one thing that I can almost guarantee is going to happen. Have you guys heard about there's a kid who's tracking Elon Musk's plane? Let's see. Elon Musk plane. There it is. Elon Musk's jet. And Elon Musk has actually tried to make it so he tried to pay this guy off and get him out of the equation. But look, it's the 15th day. So on the 13th, he tracked his jet. So there's Elon Musk's private plane. And he has the whole route mapped. He has everything. And if you scroll down here, he even tells you how far he traveled, how much gas he used, how much it cost. And I have to say, if I'm Elon Musk, I don't like this. I'm kind of, he offers him $5,000 to stop tracking. You know what his first move's going to be, Big M? Is censorship. His first move's going to be, this account is now blocked. I love it. You're doing this because you think freedom of speech, but I'm pretty sure, is Elon Musk that much of a joker that he would just literally spend $43 billion to buy a company so he can stop one kid from tracking his airplane? Oh, that would be pretty damn funny if it was. All right, let me see. I got some. DOJ would stop it because he is in a war, left versus right, and any excuse will do. I don't know. I mean, I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other night about this, and you look at what power Twitter has, and I actually agree that it has a much higher value than 43 billion, way higher, because if done correctly, a social media platform, in my opinion, can shape the narrative, right? You can augment or manipulate people's belief systems. If the good example is that TV show, the movie that came out called this is not The Social Network. Oh, I've watched it. You guys might know the name of it. There was a movie that came out recently really talking about how Facebook and social media platforms are manipulating data. They are putting, so let's say you're an extreme, you're looking at, I'm just making it up here, but let's say you're looking at, I don't know, some Republican website. And it starts giving you feeds that are more Republican based. And then if you click on an article, because we all click on sensational articles, what they did is, you clicked on this sensational one, we'll feed you more of the sensational stuff. And what it does, it pulls you deeper into whatever the radicalized Republican or radicalized Democrat or radicalized, Islam person is. And it's starting to create this bigger polarization. So in my opinion, Twitter is one of the most powerful media companies in the world. And they can feed you information or prevent you from seeing information, which could give you a clear idea of the whole picture. And as we know, information is power. What information are we really getting? The Social Dilemma. Yes, that's it. Thank you, Yaza. That was the one. And Gilbert and Eric. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's kind of disheartening. Like, it really made me feel awful inside, especially because I have some friends who are completely addicted. They're zombies walking around on their phones because they got to, you ever see people that are like this in public? They look miserable, right? They look like they just, slam their foot in the door and they're about to start crying, and then they put their phone up a picture and they pose all beautiful and look all happy, and then take the picture, and next thing you know, go back to frowning. I mean, it's so much fakeness going on in social media, and people have to have this illusion that your life is so perfect. I mean, I don't know. Sorry, we're going down a rabbit hole here that probably don't need to go down. It's the whiskey talking, my friends. Which is why you rarely see me put stuff on social media. I don't know. I'd rather live life than tell people about it. All right, what else do I got here? Merlin, what made you think he wasn't a sociopath anymore? He may be a genius. Yeah? Yeah, he probably, sociopath is a pretty heavy label. I just look at what someone's accomplished if someone accomplishes greatness without causing a lot of harm, you're going to be in a very high regard with me. If you cause a lot of changes, but you're a complete a-hole with disregard for human rights, for human beliefs, you don't respect other human beings, then you're going down big time in my book. I think that, we can all, I think, agree that the only thing we know for certain is that we're here, right? We are here, period. Doesn't matter color, creed, background, anything, we're here. That's all I can really say. I don't know what's out in the heavens. I'm hoping we go to space so we can find out more clearly what in the heck is out there and start exploring space. Won't happen soon enough, in my opinion, but I'd love to see what more is out there. So we should all treat each other equally and with respect for your opinions and viewpoints, and live our lives. Social media platforms' value is based on its ad sales. I spent a lot of corporate budget on digital marketing. Twitter was not so hot. Agreed. I mean, that's how they make their bottom line. And, if you can start to create fanatics, which the Social Dilemma actually illustrated very easily, how you can create a fanatic, then you can get more ad revenue. You can start to bring, they're targeting these people. Anyway, Putin needs a Twitter account. Yeah. That's a slippery slope right there. All right, I don't have anything else on the docket for today. If you guys have some couple things you want to check out chart-wise, let's do it. Here is I'm going to run through the broad markets just in case anybody missed it yesterday. There really wasn't anything, in my opinion, that was stand out. The only thing that's moving right now, Bitcoin. But the chart pattern just doesn't look that great, so there's nothing here that's really noteworthy. I'm going to leave this line here just because we talked about it kind of being range-bound. But one thing that is noteworthy for me with Bitcoin is it's managing to, let's get this stupid volume off, it's managing to maintain this higher low. I think it's a very critical piece for Bitcoin to maintain this higher low. Again, if we get down below 30,000, then all those lows are broken, and we're headed down for much more. Other than that, there really wasn't anything noteworthy here. Thursday's action just erased all the gains. I don't see anything here noteworthy for Monday's trading session, so I'll have to just leave it at that. The Dow actually had a little shooting star, but that's pretty much it. If you have time, can you explain TIPS? You mean the actual ETF or the concept of TIPS? I would go back through. I can do it a little bit, Jill, but Bill Addis, if you just go to the archives and look at Bill Addis' show, he goes really in depth with TIPS, which is Treasury Inflation Protected Securities, which are Treasury products that will adjust for inflation. So if you believe we're in a rising rate environment, then buying TIPS might not be a bad idea. The challenge is they reset periodically, so it's not like you're getting every day the updated rate. And they're also going to be trading at a little bit of a premium, right? So as those rates are rising, you're not getting, let's say it's 8%. Well, that bond's not going to be at 8%. It's going to be lower than that. Watch the Bill Addis piece, Jill. He's way better. And just go to my archives and just type in Bill Addis. He comes on probably once a month. And I think last time we actually talked about TIPS, so it's the most recent show, which was done, I think April, maybe first week of April, was with Bill Addis. That'll get you your TIPS piece. It was awesome. No problem, Thomasina. Have a great weekend. Have a fabulous Easter. Go do some egg hunting. Is there a put play on natural gas? There's always a put play somewhere, right? I guess if you're going to do natural gas, probably you could do natural gas futures or you could go UNG. Your thought here is you could take a flyer and go deep out of the money puts, right? Buy some puts because right now they're going to be real cheap because no one thinks this thing is selling off. But if I go to the weekly here on something like UNG, we're almost in clear sky territory. I mean, there's a couple little spots like around $28 on UNG where this thing might stall, but right now it just feels super strong. I wasn't looking at UNG necessarily for puts, but it's a similar situation with XLU, right? Look at utilities. Utilities on a weekly has just done amazing as well, and I actually wanted to buy some puts on this one, but I didn't. I passed up on it. I really felt like this is going to have a pullback here because everyone's flying to utilities because, they pay a dividend, and if the markets tank, utilities will do well, so I'm going to put my money to use that way. Well, bottom line is if the S&P drops and keeps on dropping like it looks like right here, right? If this continues, all those 11 sectors of the S&P are going down, period. It's just the way it is. Some will go down much more than others, but I think utilities will have the biggest, a pretty big pullback here. So I'm looking at utilities XLU, kind of the same way you're looking at natural gas. I still believe natural gas has a lot of legroom. I agree with John Rowland that you're looking at $8 here. I think you're going to see $8 on natural gas in short order. We're almost there. All right, so there's that $8 line. We're almost there. So I don't know if I would be shorting it. If you do, I would make sure you do it with some risk capital that you're okay to lose because right now you're going absolutely against the big grain here, the big trend. Big Eb, it's looking weak for triple Qs. Could see the low of the year in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, I agree. Part of me wishes I still had all my puts, but gotta stay where we're at. It will be interesting. Do we get back down to this 318 level on the triple Qs? That's the big question. If we don't get any big shining news going forward, I think it kind of coincides with the FOMC meeting. So the FOMC announcement, excuse me. So here's a weekly. Let's go to a daily. And May 4th, right here, where this vertical line is when the Fed will make their announcement on rates, which as we speak, let me just tell you what those rates are as of this exact moment. Let's just check this one out. Let's see if it changed. I didn't look at it on Thursday to see if it actually changed. So the May 4th right now is pricing in pretty much guaranteed 91% probability we're going to get a 50 basis point increase. Has that been going up or down? Been staying relatively the same. over a week ago is actually increased significantly, but I don't see anybody on the table right now saying 75 basis point increase. So that's kind of a positive thing. So that announcement could coincide with those lows, and that may actually impact it. So if all of a sudden we get down to those lows, let's say 320 on the triple Qs, do they do a 75 basis point cut to try to keep it from falling? I don't think so. I don't think they're that desperate yet. But I definitely think you'll see a little bit of bounce if we get back down to that 320. If we don't, then we're going to fall much, much faster. So again, my bias is down. I just think I can't come up with a list of things to justify increased market performance, even though we're seeing good earnings, right? We had some good earnings announcements this week, especially from the banks. Earnings look good. Yeah, earnings look good because PPI numbers have risen, but CPI numbers have risen more, which means more income for corporations on earnings. Well, at some point, that inflation is going to hit everybody, and those earnings are going to start to disappear. So I think it's just a matter of time. I do think that certainly by later on this year, I absolutely stick by my target for we're going to drop 20% in the equity markets and probably end somewhere like down 15 off of the high for the year. So let me bring out what that level might be. I think I removed those lines from the S&P chart. But we have this level here, and I said, 15% was, or 20% is where I think you're going to fall to, which is right around here, right? So there's 20% would bring us to about 3,800, and then bounce till we got to maybe down 15%, which we're there by the end of the year. So I think we'll be down 15% at year end. On the triple Qs, is there a term for the formation last 4 days? Ooh, let's see. Usually 4. No, not really. Some call that a tweezer bottom, but it's not really a good representation of it. I mean, in my opinion, if you look at something like that, simple. Just put the yellow box on, right? It's just consolidation. It's just basically basing, right? I mean, we call it OTA, we call it just basing, where something has just gone there and just kind of traversed back and forth. You can now start to identify a range. The scary part is we closed right at the dead low. This trading week was really in a very tight range, given all the different weeks we've seen. So, next week will be a telltale. Do we break below that, stay in it, or rip to the upside? I'm putting my money on breaking to the downside. Why not Walmart or big wholesalers like them? With inflation on their side, they should be able to make a few pennies. Well, yeah, certainly the cheap retailers will do well when you have a not necessarily an inflationary environment, but more recessionary environment, right? I think now the challenge is still getting products from Asia. You still have shipping bottlenecks. Now, that take apart the whole semiconductor thing, but if you just look at shipping, the Baltic Dry Index was parabolic. I have not looked at the Baltic Dry Index recently. Let me check this out. The Baltic Dry Index gives you a clue as to how much it's cost for those. Let's see. Here you go. So here's your Baltic Dry Index, and if it's actually sold off quite a bit. So there's your Baltic Dry Index. Let me see if I can, it's come down a lot, but it's still, if you look back to historic levels, we're still higher than normal. So that is going to impact prices, which is going to cut into Walmart's bottom line, etc. Of course, if we go into recession, you're probably going to spend less at Dolce & Gabbana and Prada, and maybe more on cheaper places. So not necessarily that Walmart's going to take off with regards to their sales, but wow, I didn't realize the Baltic Dry Index dropped that much. That's great. It's good news for shipping. When did gas spike? Wouldn't that hurt companies on getting their products? Certainly, right? If you look at the cost of transportation, as you see energy costs rise more, that's obviously going to be passed on to the end-on consumer, which is what we're experiencing, right? If you look at crude oil, let's go take a peek at crude oil here real quick, and I got to wrap up because it's Friday, and I am going to go have some fun tonight. I got to have some fun tonight. Why not? Got to do it. Here is crude oil. You look at the daily on crude oil. It's been 3 glorious days. You zoom out a little bit bigger here and check out the picture. I'm actually going to remove this red line here because it, in my analysis, has broken this downtrend line. That's a pretty positive piece. Now, we'll see if we can get above this next level and next one to see if we can really start to make some higher highs. But you look at the price of oil, yeah. You think that's not impacting prices? It absolutely is. You've got oil, going back into April of 2020 when it was down at negative $40 a barrel, which is just ridiculous. But still, that trend is just aggressively up, and all lines point to increased costs. So yes, that's absolutely impacting all these inflationary numbers, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Could we have made a fortune on the rise of the ruble? Yeah, but you know what? You know where you can make a fortune? You can make a fortune by juggling chainsaws naked. You make a fortune doing that. But it takes one slip up, and next thing you know, you're singing soprano. Hallelujah. Yeah, trading the ruble, I mean, you look at the price charts and be like, oh, I would have killed it. You're just, I don't know, I think it's just a total gamble, right? To me, this is going to the roulette table and saying, I'm putting it on, the number one. There you go. Let's do it. Number one. I'm going to make all my money there. I just think that's just too much gambling. The whole thing with Putin saying, hey, you got to pay for our oil and natural gas with rubles, that helped pop this back up to some normal levels. But I think everybody here that's watched this show for a while knows my attitude. Trading is not about taking very high risk with your money. It's about taking low risk and compounding and generating those rates of return more and more and more. So if you start off with $10,000 and you slowly build your way up to $11,000, okay, now you take that same amount and you're compounding that, and then you compound that. Next thing you know, you're at $15,000, then you're at $20,000, then you're at $30,000. You compound and compound, but don't take big risks, because when you take big risks on something like this, like the ruble, if you were paying attention to what was going on when they slapped all the sanctions off, you're probably thinking, man, ruble's going even lower, right? I'm going to short the ruble, and all of a sudden, boom, that gap up this run up right here the next day wiped you out, totally wiped you out. Right, especially if you're using leverage. A candle like that, that's an evaporation of your account, gone in seconds. There's a movie called Gone in 60 Seconds. You get a move like that, it could be gone in 2 seconds. So, careful. Fish Fry Friday, nice. Ooh, what kind of fish, Doug? What do you got up in Milwaukee? Eyes on the Russell, though. Yeah, the Russell's an interesting one. I've been watching it as well, but you notice this week it didn't really have the same move as the rest of the market. It was actually up more, and especially Friday's or Thursday's action, it didn't really sell off like the other indexes. So we'll keep this yellow box on the Russell for now. Right now, it just feels like it's going to keep on traversing sideways. All right, what does Big Ed say? I think everyone has realized there won't be a quick end to the Ukraine thing, so oil will be back over year-to-date highs soon. I think so. I think you'll see it slowly drift back up unless there's some resolution here. But look, a lot of times these things take time, longer and longer and longer, and as long as you don't get caught holding your opinion too strong, we'll be all right. All right, that's going to do it for me. So I decided to take Monday off just because, I don't know, decided to take Monday off. So I'm going to be off Monday, and next Friday I'm driving up to NorCal to bring another electric bike to my father. So I'm going to be doing 3 shows next week. We're going to have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be the shows that we have. I've got some guests lined up, which you guys should be happy with. Let's see. Tuesday, I've got Jerry Baldwin. Wednesday, I've got Scott McCormick. And Thursday, I've got B-Dub. Brendan Wendell will be the guest. And that will do it because I'm going to drive up on Friday. So that's your guest for next week. If you have any questions for him, you can always put those down below the YouTube video. I appreciate the comments. Some of you have been putting multiple comments and giving feedback on the YouTube channel. Thank you for doing that. But send your questions in there as well. I always try to get the questions answered. I think I had all of them answered. I think there was a couple that I may not have got to. Damn it. All right, well, I'll have to get to all these questions on our Tuesday show because I just don't have time. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, everybody. Cheers. Have a fantastic remainder of your weekend. Be good. Do something fun. I will see everybody on our Tuesday session. Have a good one. Take care.